lots going on. Let's get to it. Here is Sarah. And Sarah is outlining all of kind of the rockiness that has been around Justin and Sophie the last couple of years. And I think it's good to kind of revisit this. So it won't take that long. Justin and Sophie are separating. We've all noticed the tension and distance for years. They've been rarely seen together in public. My feeling is he's been just as reckless with his marriage as he is running the country. Now, I don't know, who could make that kind of speculation, but I mean, he's running the country terribly, right? So, valid. 1, Sophie telling Justin Trudeau be humble at his fight. 2, the Queen's funeral, Justin Trudeau partying without Sophie, hungover at Westminster. 3, coronation, Justin Trudeau told Sophie to smile for the cameras. Here's footage of that. So that was making the rounds a little while there, right? Like it's a little bit Us Weekly. Canada Day, Sophie's dark sunglasses and frown. And then Sarah says, Justin and Sophie Trudeau's joint separation announcement on Instagram, hers in French, his in English, was the bandage in the middle of Justin's forehead a sign of the last straw for either one of them. Anybody seen Single White Female? I think it was Single White Female, right? She takes the stiletto, right? That stuck with me for a lot longer than you'd imagine. And I don't think I was even watching it. I think my parents were watching it, and I was, how stairs have the ceiling starts and the stairs have a drop, so you can see at the stairs and nobody knows you're watching, right? So I think that's how I watched that. And I thought, oh my gosh, shoes are very dangerous. Anyway, I may have not have been Single White Female, but that was a trope. That was the thing that happened. Anyway, Sharon Stone, there was a movie. Lion Advocacy says, why did the Prime Minister formalize his separation now if everyone suspected this occurred a while ago? Right, this is not new. Blacklock's report provides the clever, elegant answer. Sophie is no longer a spouse. With the family can now accumulate more wealth, undetected and without conflict. So this is laws. Spouse does not include a person from whom a public office holder is separated if all support obligations and family property or patrimony have been dealt with by a separation agreement or a court order. So that's interesting, right? And very, very, the speculation is, and who knows, but the speculation is, wow, right? Playing it to the nth degree, eh? Holly Doan says Sophie Gregory Trudeau is exempt from Conflict of Interest Act disclosures under legal separation agreement with her husband. Ms. Trudeau last year registered a new federal corporation at a Toronto law office to sell communication services. So, and maybe people think, oh, this is so distasteful, right? This is just tabloidy. Why are you focusing on this, Mark? It's just yucky. Let them be miserable in their divorce or happy in their separation or whatever it is, however it rolls out. But the thing is, though, the problem is, though, Justin Trudeau has a history of enriching his family at the expense of the government. And why is this a concern? Not from my mouth, but from Blacklock's reporter. Why is this even of interest? I'll tell you why. We Charity. Yeah, right? Margaret Trudeau was paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. People got kickbacks. People got trips. People got plaques on huts that got changed every so often when new people who paid for the plaques were coming, right? So you got to take the old plaque off and put up the new plaque for the new donor, right? Because that was the wee grift. You buy a plaque on a hut and they say you've helped people, but you've just helped them buy Toronto real estate, right? But that's why. Because these people are willing to play a game that you and I would find reprehensible, right? These people are willing to look at the corners and make money there. And you and I wouldn't, I don't think, play those games. But, given the opportunity, maybe you do. Who knows? An opportunity, you have to take advantage of it. But the things that are happening with Trudeau and his use of his position to enrich his family, and really, like, the ethics of it all, a little muddy, right? A little muddy to be nice about it, right? Morneau, right? He got a trip for him and his family. I think his family went too. And he disclosed that on the day that it was disclosed in the news, and then he paid for it to get out of it, and then he was out of politics. All of this stuff stinks to high heaven. And that's the reason that you have to look at these kind of angles, because even if it's gauche, even if it's a little icky, right? Because it's not because I'm interested in the scandal of it. I don't really care about Trudeau's personal life. I care about how badly he's doing in the role where how well he does matters for the country. And he's doing terribly, and the country's doing terribly. And maybe this explains it, maybe it doesn't. Maybe he's running a grift. Who knows? Here is the post-millennial to remind us of Sophie's attempted assassination with her ponytail, right? Trudeau goes in for the kiss, and Sophie turns her head in a way that, I mean, almost took his head off. Clean off. Here we go. Action. Here we go. Holy smoke, get out of the way. Jeepers creepers. Right? Did you? He knew that that was a close call. He was the breathing and the leaning back, just made it out of there alive, right? Here is Steven. He says, of course he will. He's responding to Reuters World. Justin Trudeau hit by separation, set to stay on and fight election. Interesting choice. Of course he will, says Steven. The Liberal Party suffers from the emperor has no clothes syndrome, and everyone is afraid to tell him it's time to F off. He's running again, a source close to Trudeau. So there you go. Here is CBC Watcher for the more tabloidy side of this. And they say, theory from Sheila Gunn Reid, Sophie Trudeau and her children were not on the Prime Minister's jet to attend King Charles' coronation ceremony in May. However, the family nanny, Sarah Clark, was on the government jet. Clark is listed as PMO Special Assistant on LinkedIn. So interesting. PMO Special Assistant or the kid's nanny, whatever, whichever one you want to use, right? So, I mean, it's an interesting injury, Mr. Trudeau. Interesting timing, right? I've seen the movies, although I can't remember which movie exactly. Jason says, let's move on and let's talk about China. Obviously, China is more impactful, but the state of mind the Prime Minister is in is impactful to the country, I think, very impactful to the country. Let's talk China. Jason says, Justin Trudeau is going through a divorce. People are being told to respect his privacy during this time because he has children. You know who also has children? The protesters whose accounts the government froze because they were too cowardly to face them. There are the Coots boys too, right? I think the Coots boys have kids and they've been in jail for almost 2 years. That's, I mean, oh my gosh, like theft of time is just heartbreaking, right? Tom says, does this explain the timing of the separation announcement? So is the separation being used as a political card? We all knew it was happening anyway. So is the separation being used as a political, like not a trump card, but a card to be played at an opportune moment to get people spending 10 minutes or 12 minutes or however long 10 minutes on it that I've spent, instead of talking about and focusing on the real things that are going on, like Beijing's control of media in Canada? This is what dropped yesterday. And it's valid. It's a valid idea. It's a valid suggestion. Like, is this being used as a distraction? Could be. Yeah, it's kind of tabloidy. It's kind of distractionary, right? Here's a real meaty story that won't get any play. Beijing's control of media in Canada enabled election interference, CSIS documents say, right? So that's not great. True North is reporting this. And I'll read the True North report, but if you want the source from the Bureau, then here it is. Sam Cooper says, exclusive breaking: Beijing's control of media in Canada enabled election interference. And that's according to the CSIS documents. So here's True North's kind of overview of those reports. There's 4 parts and I haven't got through them all yet because, man, it's busy. It's summertime, right? And we're going on. Well, never mind. Let's talk about China. China's ability to interfere with with Canadian elections is largely enabled by its clandestine takeover of Chinese language outlets, as well as its influence on legacy media here at home. Newly released CSIS documents reveal that China has been providing substantial funding to key media entities in Canada in order to get more favorable coverage. China's influence over the media was reported by the Bureau, an independent media outlet launched by former Global News Initiative reporter Sam Cooper, who first revealed that China had interfered in Canada's elections earlier this year. The documents also say that Beijing has offered benefits to Vancouver's Chinese consulate to support key editors, producers, and high-ranking managers. Some journalists have even allegedly been threatened during those various covert operations. The overarching objective of these operations is the election of politicians who are sympathetic to the interests of the Chinese Communist Party while also subverting Canadian democracy, the Bureau claims. One example of this was when a senior Chinese consular official in Toronto summoned a number of Chinese language reporters together and allegedly told them that to privately support a certain politician that the CCP wanted to gain influence in the federal government. The alleged incident was confirmed by one Chinese language journalist who wishes to remain anonymous due to security concerns for him and his family. Victor Ho, a former Vancouver-based newspaper editor, has come out in public to confirm the validity of CSIS's allegations following his review of their documents. When Ho was asked whether the CCP was quietly funding election interference networks throughout Canada to bolster Beijing's favorable candidates, Ho replied, "That is exactly the case. The CCP weaponized the Chinese media to gain election intervention," Ho told the Bureau. "To do this, the Chinese consulates in Canada make every effort to influence the top Chinese editing teams in Canada. China's election interference isn't solely at the federal level, but also at the provincial and municipal levels as well, according to a CSIS intelligence assessment conducted in 2022. Controlling the media is the main source of creating interference," claimed one document, stating traditional and online media outlets play an important role during election periods, offering a curated communications channel between political campaigns and the general public. The CCP uses election coverage to manipulate and influence key media entities, control narratives, and disseminate disinformation. The increasing number of Chinese migrants in Canada helps to facilitate the CCP infiltration and media outlets. In Canada, the PRC takeover of Chinese language media has transpired over decades, derivative of the proportion of PRC origin individuals increasing in Canada's Chinese communities, stated the CSIS document. As the PRC devotes more resources to it, in President Xi Jinping's words, telling China's story well. In 2022, the CSIS document entitled Canadian Eyes Only reveals that almost all Chinese media outlets are controlled by local media associations, and essentially they say the same thing. The documents went on to say that in the Greater Toronto Area, 30 to 40 people in the Chinese media circles meet regularly to come to a consensus regarding what or how an item will be published, same thing. These individuals act as gatekeepers to ensure whatever is reported in Chinese language media adheres to pro-PRC narratives, stated the report. If an article is published that casts a negative light on a Chinese company, reporters are contacted and the article is then deleted in some cases, according to the CSIS report. This is destroying the freedom of the press, a value enshrined in Canada's Charter of Rights, it stated. The CCP is moving away from censorship within its own borders to influencing international coverage as part of the regime's belief that control and oversight of media is crucial for the maintenance of one-party rule in China. So, yeah, there is a lot of influence. That's citing Chinese media. I'm wondering how much control they have and influence they have over an English media newsroom, right? One of the things that I talk about a lot is how the government is paying off the newspapers, and if your biggest customer is the government and they are paying for a specific kind of story, then you'll deliver that story. And it's kind of interesting because it seems like a cell phone. It seems like the government was so arrogant and believed their own rhetoric so much and were out of touch with the reality of the situation so much that they shot themselves in the kneecap. What they've done with C-18 is removed their own propaganda from social media sites, which, I mean, maybe that benefits them somehow to have the control of the social media sites to that degree, because it hurts Rebel, it hurts True North, it hurts a lot of places that rely on Facebook for as a means of providing traffic. But fundamentally, it hurts their news that they pay for a lot because it takes out 50 to 80% of the traffic between Facebook and Google. That's 50 to 80%. It's massive. It's a huge drop. So and I'll be interested to see how many people, because you go to Facebook like it's a bar or like it's a place that you frequent. You walk in there just like you'd walk into an old bar that you go to every lunch hour, and you get the same thing every day, and they know you there. Your feed is there, right? That's where you go. If you go to a news website, you're in research mode. You're looking for a specific story that somebody told you about, or you're looking to read more into something. You're not looking for what's happening today. What's happening today is happening on Facebook. It's not happening on the Globe and Mail. Okay? So that's the difference right there. And that's why Twitter's the news. Really, that's why Twitter's the news, because that's what's happening at the edge, at the bleeding edge of what's happening. That's like newspapers say Elon Musk tweeted this. Right? So, but fundamentally, people are not going to news websites to read the news. They want to see what's happening on places like Reddit or Twitter or Facebook and Google. And Google is people who were news hounds would go to Google because it's an aggregator, right? And now that's not possible. And so The government themselves did this. And so now people are going to have to self-curate. And the government didn't want that. That works against their plans of having everybody believe the forced narrative, right? Anyway. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful